We will see if cooler heads prevail on Parliament Hill today, following a testy exchange yesterday in question period. A heated confrontation between Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, when Poilievre tried to go after other opposition leaders instead of the government.
He is a fake, a phony, and a fraud. How can anyone ever believe what this sellout NDP leader says in the future?
NDP members shouting over Poilievre there as he accused Singh of backing out of the supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals to secure a by-election win in Winnipeg on Monday. Singh had also announced earlier the NDP won't support the Conservatives' non-confidence motion next Tuesday, and the House erupted after that. Witnesses say Singh left his seat and went into the aisle to confront Poilievre. Now, cameras weren't able to capture that angle, but you do see some of the Conservative leader's reaction and also Opposition House Leader Andrew Scheer there. And some MPs tell CBC News Singh said to Poilievre, "I'm right here." Poilievre appeared to point in Singh's direction and repeatedly say, "Do it." Janice McGregor is live in Ottawa. She's been watching this high tension on the Hill all week. Now we have this dust up and question period yesterday. So let's spend some time on this, Janice. What's driving this behavior and this tension?
We have a kind of a fundamental issue here, Heather. We have the Conservatives who are frustrated at not being able to trigger the election that they want now, and you have the other parties who want to get some more of their specific priorities passed before the plug is pulled on this Parliament. This is a very kind of fundamental disagreement, and the dysfunction goes far beyond kind of what we saw specifically in question period yesterday. It is an open question, frankly, whether this sitting of Parliament is going to be able to accomplish much while this is hanging over everyone, based on how the proceedings have gone this first week. Now, I don't want to suggest that absolutely everything is broken. There are a few bills chugging along. We did see yesterday all party support for a specific bill that is meant to kind of make it easier for the town of Jasper to recover after the devastating forest fire there this summer. But the recent by-election results, the high-profile kind of cabinet ministers sort of that have stepped away in the last couple of months, this is leaving the Liberal government looking very vulnerable. No surprise then the Conservatives want to pounce. But rather than reach out to the other two opposition parties to work with them, try some diplomacy across party lines on the opposition bench to bring this government down, Pierre Poilievre instead has been very aggressively trying to shame and accuse the other two opposition leaders of being collaborators with the Liberals. Now, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet has spoken to reporters at length about how this feels for him. He's made it clear he doesn't want a Conservative government any more than he wants a Liberal government. So why would he just go along with what Poilievre wants under that circumstance? Jagmeet Singh, who of course has been the target of name-calling for months now by the Conservatives, he also now is digging in, saying he is not going to allow the bullying of the Conservatives to work here. He is going to pursue his party's own agenda. We know the Liberals, of course, have been talking about how much work they have to do to persuade Canadians to vote for them again. Of course, they are going to want as much time as possible to get that work done. So what's unknown for the coming weeks, months, even the year, perhaps, until the fixed election date, is who or what is going to trigger the end of this Parliament, on what terms, for what reasons. They're all jockeying now to take ownership of that. And I have to say, in terms of the Conservative tactics specifically, they are great for the party's fundraising. They amp up their supporters. That means a lot of Conservative contracted firms can profit a lot off of all of this anger. So they have no incentive to stop at all, even if, when you look at things, it doesn't seem to be getting to their objective of an election any faster.
We've seen, Janice, the tensions this week, and not just in that exchange and in that episode in the House. So remind us of what's been happening outside and how that also reflects on what's going on in the moment.
That's right. So if you haven't been to Ottawa, I can tell you there's always varying degrees of protests that come and go on Parliament Hill. That's very normal. But the intensity of what we've seen this week, starting right from Monday morning when I was walking over there to talk to you from there, Heather, the foul language on the signs, the extent of people filming and screaming at politicians well beyond the gates of Parliament Hill that you're seeing in this footage that we shot. This, frankly, is starting to harken back to kind of the mood on the street that we saw during the convoy protests 2.5 years ago. Frankly, just crossing Wellington at the location you're seeing now here, Heather, to get to the doors of West Block there means you have to run a gamut of anger. A couple of MPs, Liberal Pam Demoff and New Democrat Heather McPherson, they were talking about this, how it feels for them, also how it feels for the young staffers on Parliament Hill. With our colleague David Cochran on Power and Politics last night.
People have a right to protest in Canada, and I think everyone respects that right. But since we came back on Monday, people have been aggressive and angry and threatening and harassing.
With the violence that we have to walk through just to get into the building to do our job, to say nothing of the shenanigans and nonsense and deeply unseriousness we see within the Conservative Party, within the chamber, that's not making people want to be part of our political system, our democratic system. It's reducing people's access to that system, and that's a threat to our democracy.
And, you know, what do voters make? Is that a voter suppression tactic going forward to the next election? Demoff, I have to remind people, is not running again. She has been vocal about how the harassment that MPs have faced contributed to her decision to not stand for re-election. She now has written a letter to the Sergeant of Arms, the House of Commons, asking for more protections for MPs and staffers to prevent this from escalating to the point where someone gets hurt. Both of them, as you heard, they're very critical of their Conservative colleagues who have been engaging with these protesters, some of them. Sometimes we have heard the protesters' slogans chanted inside the House even. This protest amplifies the Conservatives' goals, so they have co-opted some aspects of it. A specific confrontation involving Jagmeet Singh was in the news earlier this week, got a lot of attention. But I have to tell you, this is not the only video that is out there online of individuals confronting Jagmeet Singh. There's another one, for example, off the street, away from parliamentary protection officers. Also this week, he was being harassed. It's important for everyone watching me to understand it's out there, but I'm deliberately cautious about not showing too much of it, and I want to explain why. The individuals who share these aggressive confrontations on social media, they are trying to build followers. They're also trying to monetize these tactics on the various social platforms on which they're engaged. They claim that they are exercising both simultaneously a right to protest and also their rights as a free press, which they believe they are being when they make these videos. But at issue here is whether these rights should have limits if they are making people feel fundamentally unsafe for engaging in politics.
Janice, thank you. Such important context to understand what we are watching. Worried indeed. Thank you very much. Janice McGregor in our bureau in Ottawa.